Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking your time to join us this morning in our webinar session. Wilson, we can see you. Thank you very much. It's a slightly overcast morning here in Nairobi. It's exactly 10:04 a.m. and we are good to kick off our webinar session for today, featuring our Grandstream voice video and looking at the features and how we possibly can be able to identify opportunities in the market. Just some house cleaning matters. You can use your chat box on your far right of your screen to share with us any comments that you might have, as well as questions, and we will respond to them at the end of this session. We also have a question and answer tab at the bottom right of your screen. Please feel free to use that to communicate with us. My co-host today is Hot Sokobo, who's our Grandstream product manager sitting at our sister company in South Africa called Miro. So just before we kick off, I'd just like to confirm that you can all hear me. I will send you all a message on the chat box. Please respond back to me confirming the same.
Okay, we can hear you, Terry.
Great, thanks, Hotso. Wilson, can you hear me? Fantastic. Thank you, Wilson. So we're just going to quickly kick off our session for today with a brief introduction to Hudaco Kenya. I will be sharing my screen with you. So please confirm that you can see it.
We can see your screen on my side, Terry.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hotso. Fantastic, Wilson. I can see that you're with your colleague, George. George, karibu to our session today. So just a brief introduction about who we are as Hudaco Kenya, what's our focus, how do we position ourselves in the market, and really, why would you want to work or choose to work with Hudaco Kenya? So Hudaco Kenya is part of the Hudaco industry group of companies, and we are a leading value-added distributor of quality, innovative, integrated security, IP-enabled voice, which is our focus for discussion today, and video and telecommunication solutions to the greater East African market as well as sub-Saharan market. We believe that IP technology is the future for communication, and I think this has been fast-tracked by, of course, COVID-19. We've seen, huge uptake of some of these solutions, not only, in the business space, but also for individuals. And we believe that these solutions should be easily accessible to everyone. Using our team of IP converged professionals who are dedicated to taking your business to the next level. We believe that we need to empower you in order to be able to connect communities. In addition to that, we boast of over 17 years of industry knowledge, and that's across the whole of Africa. We are a member of the Hudaco group of companies, as I've mentioned to you. Our footprint expands to the greater Eastern Africa, Central Africa, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. We are really focused on empowering, our teams, empowering our partners, and really empowering our communities. And that's why we are continuously looking for ways to engage with you. Just to mention that we do run our webinar sessions every Friday, and we've got 2 sessions, and that's focused around our wireless and the communication suite of products. We have one starting at 10 and another one starting at 12 p.m. And on every Thursday afternoon, we focus on our security suite of products as well. And our approach to the market is from a holistic perspective, where we walk the journey with you right from, designing the solution, understanding what the scope of the solution is, and then of course delivering it to you using the technical expertise and the teams that we have on board. And that's really how we position the value-added element of our distributorship. Would like to encourage you to continuously, follow us on our social media handles at LinkedIn. That's at Hudaco Kenya. We also have our YouTube channel where we do post all our webinar sessions, allowing you, flexibility to be able to access these sessions at your own time, also to be able to share with your peers, your friends, your family, and really the community at large. And the YouTube channel details will be sent to you after this session from our automated email. Thanking you very much for being with us. So really, why would you want to work with Hudaco Kenya? We partner with the top international manufacturers to source solutions that meet the specific needs of our customers. And these solutions, of course, are backed by superior technical support and training. Using these channel that we communicate to you on, as well as Mirror Academy that's sitting in South Africa. It's a dedicated space allowing you and your teams to be able to gain certifications for various products. And we believe that your success is our success. And to this end, we want to build long-term relationships with you based on mutual trust and that are driven by exceptional customer service. So some of the solutions that we, bring to you are, of course, tailor-made to fit into your requirements. We do not believe in pushing boxes or pushing products, but rather positioning the right solutions to be able to help you achieve your desired outcome. We have a diverse portfolio of technologies that we, work with, and we believe that these solutions guarantee that you will be able to have a complete solution and a custom solution for you, right from Wi-Fi all the way down to Internet of Things, which I think is the new buzzword. Our focus for today, of course, would be on a Grandstream suite of products that basically gives us the ability to be able to provide to you, unified communications, VoIP, as well as video conferencing and teleconferencing. Some of the vendors that we have partnered with include Ubiquiti, Cambium, Microtik, that provide us Wi-Fi solutions. And there's also Grandstream with a whole suite of products. We've got infrastructure solutions, that is Ubiquiti, Microtik, and Cambium as well. Our security portfolio includes UniView, Access, a Cambium from their CN Vision perspective. Our Internet of Things, again, focuses quite squarely on Teltonica. I have talked about support and our technical team, and I, urge you to continuously engage with us. Our teams are available at sales@hudaco.africa, and I will be sharing with you the details. And we also have our team available in this session, who have joined us in this session today, and will be present to respond to any of your questions, of course, supporting Hotso in his presentation. From a legal compliance perspective, all the equipment that we bring into the countries that we operate in go through the rigorous type approval process. And this is just to ensure that we are bringing to you top of breed solutions, and that, from a legal compliance, these solutions are certified. We understand that, COVID-19 has really thrown a curveball into our economy, into our business operations. And even as we try to recover from the effects of it, our businesses will continue to struggle. And as a result, we want to support the economy, and we want to be able to help you service your clients. And that is why we have engaged a number of organizations that will allow us to be able to vet your business, and then therefore extend, credit terms, anything from 7 to 30 days, allowing you to be able to service your clients as you wait for your payment. Again, very, very keen on training. We want to continuously engage with you. Please follow us on our social media handles. Please, look out for the mailers that we will be sharing with you. And very soon we will also be having other channels that we would want to engage with you. So at this point, I'd like to hand over the session to my colleague Hotso. Hotso, over to you, and thank you so much for being with us this cold morning.
Thank you very much, Terry, for that warm welcome. And regardless of how cold it does feel, even here on our side, I believe that our business of connecting communities can still go on amidst these circumstances. I'd like to greet everyone that's in the webinar. As Terry has already said, we're going to be looking at communication from the perspective of one of our bigger vendors as Hudaco East Africa. And this is basically a vendor that provides what we call unified communication solutions. And unified communication solutions are basically trying to streamline and combine all of your communication needs into a single management interface. And in our case, that management interface, we are unfortunately not going to discuss it today, but we will actually discuss some of the features that are inherent in Grandstream's voice and video. Mainly because if you look at the adaptation we have had to come to because of how the future started looking, if we look at that the adaptation rather that we had to undergo because of how the future is unfolding with regards to the current crisis that the world is facing, we can all attest to a certain level that connectivity has become a human right. In South Africa, they passed the legislation, if I'm correct, it is within the past 4 years, that was declaring that internet access is now regarded as a right to a human being, meaning that as part of the right to education, the right to dignity that we as human beings deserve by virtue of being human, we are now also including within that scope the right to access information. And the reason why that is because the main foundation and infrastructure of the future will be connectivity. So I'm going to ask that for those of you who have questions, uh, Terry is going to be helping me with our question and answer session when we get to the end of this discussion. So feel free to type your questions in on the chat and we will deal with those as soon as we have finished the content that I have placed in front of you. I have displayed some slides in front of you. It should be saying Grandstream Certified Specialist. Can everybody see my slides?
Yes, we can also. Please proceed.
Oh, thank you, Terry. So today we are going to be dealing with voice, video, and data. Data is normally how we look at managing the features that surround voice and video. Most of the videos, or rather webinar sessions I'm going to be doing with you and Terry, is going to be centered around the Grandstream Certified Specialist. The main idea behind this is after a certain number of webinar sessions rather, we will then be able to determine whether you are ready to take the Grandstream Certified Specialist exam. And this we will accomplish by you communicating with Terry if you believe you are ready to take the exam. Once we have finished the entire series of these videos, Terry will then inform me of that and we are able to actually generate you a Grandstream Certified Specialist certification course, obviously unsuccessfully passing of the exam. But before we get there, let us start with voice, video, and data. So we're basically going to look at some of the features that a Grandstream holistic unified communication solutions would give us in terms of what can we do with the voice side of our network, what can we do with the video side of our network, and how do we then manage those two sides of communication. We are going to look at a couple of features that support mobility, mainly because Grandstream has centralized itself to become an up-to-date brand, much like Hudaco East Africa, because what we try to do is basically make sure that we give you the relevant solution and we give that solution to you at the right time in terms of future spec. We have come to a point in the African market where we need future-proof technologies. And in order for us to have future-proof technologies, one needs to be able to have a piece of hardware that is future-proof in the sense that if it's applicable today, it is a piece of hardware that will still be extremely relevant and perform competitively in your network for the next 5 to 10 years. So what we are going to look at quickly, what I'm going to ask us to start looking at on my slides is two of the applications that are supported in the Grandstream suite of products. And the first one is Grandstream Wave. Grandstream Wave is a soft phone application that is supported on iOS for Apple series and also on Android for most of the mobile devices we use today. So Grandstream Wave basically allows you to install a running instance of a soft phone on a mobile cell phone, and you can then use the Grandstream Wave as part of the extensions in your active VoIP network. This is one of the ways in which Grandstream is quickly adapting towards the future of work from home and seamless connectivity to the office environment while you are at home. And some of the things that are supported in Grandstream Wave are basically up to about 6 SIP accounts that can be live at the same time. You also have call control features such as 6-way voice conferencing, 24 virtual BLF keys. What your 24 virtual BLF keys will basically allow you to do on the cell phone is to monitor other fellow extensions that are in the same network as you, whether those are remote workers or they are in an office environment. You also have two-way video calls on the Grandstream Wave app, and the Grandstream Wave app is also capable of integrating with your IP PBX, such as the Grandstream's UCM series, basically meaning that you can allocate your Grandstream Wave soft phone an extension from your Grandstream UCM series so that it can be treated as part of the internal network, even when the user is mobile on the road. And some other interesting rundowns with regards to Grandstream Wave is that it supports most of the audio codecs for back and forth conversion between the cell phone network and the IP network. So it covers an entire range of codecs that allow you to seamlessly switch between calls that come from IP, that come from PSTN, and that also come from GSN and HSDPA and so forth. So some of the security features that are included in Grandstream Wave are the ability to run SIP over TLS, and you'll see that in this point over here. The reason why that is important to an extent is because there was a time, I believe in the past 6 years rather, where SIP phone calls in South Africa were not admissible in a court of law. The reason why they were not admissible in a court of law is because SIP was considered an insecure stream of communication. So with the Grandstream Wave soft phone, you are able to run SIP over TLS, basically transport layer security, which will then encrypt that communication stream, meaning that it does not only make it secure, but it now also makes it admissible as evidence in a court of law due to that legality. And most of these features will basically throw you back to a lot of what you can do with our Grandstream endpoints. What we try to allow you to do across multiple platforms is to not lose the usability and functionality and user friendliness of all the features that are supported on a Grandstream desk phone. And to that regard, we have migrated a lot of these features and supports to the Grandstream Wave app as well, so that the experience is very seamless when you have to migrate from a desk phone to your own mobile phone for work from home reasons. And as we have said, it supports up to 6 SIP accounts. It also supports native integration with mobile devices, including things such as your own contact list, your call history, and etc. It also does support enterprise features that include IP PBX integration, mainly with the Grandstream Wave PBX. I have not yet had an instance where one has tried to run the Grandstream Wave with an alternate PBX, although we have gotten a few queries over the years about that. And though the integration is possible, Grandstream Wave is always best run with the Grandstream suite of IP PBXs, mainly because they are built to seamlessly function with one another. You also have things such as your automatic call forwarding. This you can set based on your time and location rules, and the Grandstream Wave app will bring that into effect as per what you have pre-configured. But Another thing with the Grandstream app is that it also supports two-way video calls based on SIP or the H.264 protocol, and to an extent WebRTC for real-time communication, meaning that if you need to be in a work video conference at a certain time while you are on the move using the Grandstream app on your mobile phone, you are able to seamlessly do so. And the second part in terms of integration is our GSAffinity desktop phone companion. The GSAffinity desktop phone companion, what it simply does is it'll take the Grandstream desktop on top of your desk and place it onto the screen of your desktop, allowing you to have much more freedom to use your hands and also to use additional accessories such as the headsets that most of us prefer to use for work purposes. But GSAffinity is a free CTI application by Grandstream. It is supported by the UCM series, but please be aware that the GSAffinity desktop app is only supported in the Grandstream GXP 1700 series and the 2100 series. There is a much larger suite of phones that we retail under the Grandstream brand, but not all of them are able to support GSAffinity. So in the case that one of your customers would like to have a desktop companion, please make sure that you come back and check through these things, because it is only supported in the 1700 series and the 2100 series. The GrandstreamAffinity has a very simple graphical user interface design for easy navigation, and it has a very simplistic and clear font, as you can see with some of the snapshots that I have placed on the slide to give you an idea of the screen real estate that you will get when using this application. But it also supports desktop notifications by default. It supports a call pop-up screen for those cases when an incoming call, you will get a notification on your screen. It also allows management of contact, meaning that you can use an LDAP phone book, you can use XML phone book integration and lookups, but you can also do a CRM lookup in case your company prefers using a customer relationship manager to integrate with their phones. The Grandstream Desktop Affinity also allows such an integration. You are also able to see more information about the connected phone and basically do any changes or settings that you need to do on the endpoint from the screen of your desktop. And just to show you a few quick call features of how the GrandstreamAffinity integrates with your desktop phone, the main idea is that it simply just takes your desktop phone and places it onto your laptop or PC. This will then allow you to perform things such as dialing calls, answer or reject, hold and unhold calls, call transfer, basically the entire suite of access that you have when you are on your desktop device is also supported in the GrandstreamAffinity. And just to sort of try and cover my basics on this, I've had a lot of queries regarding GrandstreamAffinity supporting any other type of desktop phone other than Grandstream. It has been tried with about 2 other brands and the integration was not possible. So our recommendation will then be, since this is a free desktop app, use it in addition to some of your 1700s and your 2100 series of the Grandstream suite of phones. This is also another, the GrandstreamWave and the GrandstreamAffinity are 2 other ways in which you can add value to your sales to a customer. Whether he has inquired about it or not, it is nice to mention because these are features that basically allow workers to seamlessly transform, or rather to adapt between the work environment and their home environment by using things such as GrandstreamWave, and also to be able to still use the nice accessories and headsets that we have become accustomed to over the years with your Grandstream 1700 and 2100 series. So now we are going to look at call management. Call management is going to give us an idea of how we can manage all of the calls that are in a Grandstream system, but it will also show us not only the management, but what other additional call features are supported in addition to the normal call, receive, and etc. that has become the basics, because we normally classify our Grandstream suite of products as enterprise products for SMEs. And because they are classified as enterprise, there is normally an industry standard that is established with regards to features when it comes to an enterprise product. Any product that is classified as enterprise has to meet certain industry standards in terms of features and management for it to be allotted that status as an enterprise grade user device. So some of the things we are going to look at are call forward, call transfer, something called SIP forking, call routing, call park, call hold, and do not disturb. Most of these features we are aware of, but there are additionals that I will explain. The much simpler features I will not explain, although if you would like me to explain any feature that you feel would benefit you, please put that into our chat, and during our Q&A session with Terry, I will be able to address those. So let us start off with SIP forking. SIP forking is a feature that is supported on the Grandstream desktop series of phones. It is also supported on the Grandstream's UCM, which is the IP-PBX. It is also supported on GSWave, which is the soft phone we have previously discussed for iOS and Android platforms. SIP forking is simply the ability to concurrently register one extension. Here in South Africa, we call this the stalker feature. The reason why we call this the stalker feature is simply because you can register one extension multiple times. So how you do this is you then change the extension registration number in your IP-PBX for a particular extension. Let's say, for instance, extension 1000. If you allocate extension 1000 3 times, you can then allocate that extension to an office desk phone, and allocate the very same extension to a GrandstreamWave cell phone, and allocate the very same extension 1000 to a phone that a user is using at home. The idea behind this is now, should the user get a call on any of these platforms, all of the devices will ring at the same time, or rather they will ring concurrently. And once they do that, any of the devices that answer the call will then terminate the call on the 2 other platforms. This is possible for you to do up to 10 concurrent registrations for a single extension. This then helps the calls, the critical calls rather, that your users need to take, that your customers need to take. It enables those calls to follow them from location to location, so long as they are close to one of their Grandstream devices. The next feature we are going to quickly look over, and this one I will just quickly skip over because it's a very common feature in telephony, is call transfer. Grandstream supports 3 types of transfer, which is blind transfer, which involves passing a call without notifying the person you are passing the call to. It supports attended transfer, where you pass a call by notifying the recipient first and then transferring the call to them. It also supports seamless transfer, which allows you to use a feature code to perform a blind transfer. In this case, Grandstream has default feature codes, but you are able to change them for this feature and many other features. So in terms of seamless transfer, you will basically, as the call is coming into your endpoint, you will dial star and 2 digits, and then you will dial the extension you would like it transferred to, and the transfer will be performed without you having to pick up the call. Then we also have DND, which is a very common feature of telephony. It is simply to not allow any incoming calls for a particular time. But in addition to do not disturb, we also have a do not disturb whitelist. What a do not disturb whitelist does is you can put critical contacts onto your do not disturb whitelist, which will allow them to still reach you even when your phone is not accepting any incoming calls. Then you are also able to set conditional call forwarding according to the parameters you would prefer. You are able to set call forwarding when no answer. Call forwarding when no answer will be determined by the ring time. You are able to set the ring time in a Grandstream UCM PBX. And if a call comes in and rings for a certain number of rings without being answered, it will then forward that call to the destination that you have pre-selected. You also have call forward when busy. Whenever somebody tries to call you and you have set call forward when busy, if you are currently in a call, it will then transfer that call to any other destination that you have determined and preset before time. You will also have unconditional call forwarding, which will basically just forward every single call that comes into your extension for a particular period of time as set by the user. We will also have call hold. Call hold is also a very typical feature. So the idea about call hold that I would like us to sort of be aware of in case someone might be interested in this is users can actually configure the music on hold class. The music on hold class is just simply that music that you hear when you are holding, waiting for a company to answer your call. You are able to upload these files through the web interface of the Grandstream UCM, which is the PBX that runs the phones. You can upload this in WAV format of 8 kilohertz mono with a maximum size of 30 MB. But users can also decide to record the music that a caller will hear when they are calling into the company. Although we really do not encourage this feature unless you have a very good extensive experience with your recordings and how to make them sound professional after the initial recording, because this is a feature that sounds pretty, it can sound pretty unpure when you do it in that sense, but that is a possibility. You can actually initiate a recording call to one of the extensions that exist in your network. And after initiating that recording call, you will then record that music on that particular phone that you are picking up. And then once the recording is completed, when you put down the phone, it will make that music available as a new music on hold class for you to select in the list of your UCM. We also have call park. Call park sort of functions like call hold, but there is one key difference between call park and call hold. With call hold, you are normally restricted to only picking up the call on the extension that answered it, or transferring it to another extension if you would like to have it on another extension. The call park feature, however, allows you to place a call on hold. After placing that call on hold, the call park feature allows you to retrieve that call from anywhere within the internal network, meaning that you can pick up that call on any other extension that is sharing the same network, even if that extension is a remote extension using Grandstream Wave. So how this will normally work is you will receive a call, and then instead of putting it on hold, the default code is #72. The call will then be parked. As soon as the call is parked, your Grandstream desk phone will announce a parking lot number to you. It will tell you that the parking lot number of this call is, for instance, 701. In that case, once the call is parked, rather, you can go to any other desk phone that is sharing the same network, and you can pick up that call by dialing the parking lot number. So this is simply a method of call hold that expands beyond just holding on one extension and having to retrieve it on the same extension. It allows you to park the call on any extension at all and pick it up on any other extension that is sharing the same network. Before I go to call routing, can I please highlight one more thing in my call park? What would normally happen in a call parking scenario if you park a call for a certain amount of time and then you do not pick it up is if that call reaches the timeout, it will then ring back to the initial phone that has placed that call on hold. So what we are looking at here is call routing. Call routing is simply a method to determine how your calls should exit the network when they are being dialed. You can use things such as a dialing pattern to restrict your call routing for outbound routes, meaning that you can determine how a call should be dialed for it to be allowed to exit the network. From things such as simple as configuring a prefix, maybe to first dial a zero before you dial out, or to dial a one, that is what we will call a prepend. You can even configure a strip for your dialing pattern. Strips will help you in the sense that if you are dialing an office that has similar extensions to the ones that you have on your office, if they have an extension 1000 and your office also has an extension 1000, you can then configure a strip dialing pattern, which simply means that you can add an extra digit before dialing out. Then on dialing out, that extra digit that you have added there will be stripped to prevent things such as an IP clash, or rather an extension clash with regards to similar extension representations. You can also secure the root. By securing the root, you can use things such as a PIN, you can use a password, and even run SIP over TLS, meaning that anybody that wants to dial out using that root will have to first type in a PIN or type in a password. These things for securing the root, you can do them by using things such as PIN group and passwords and etc. You can also configure a failover outbound route, meaning that if the normal route you use for dialing out goes down, your extensions will then be configured as per your UCM to fail over to the secondary trunk that you have for running your calls. You can also configure privileges and permissions. Privileges and permissions are helpful in a scenario where you have large departments and various of them, and not everybody in the company has the same dialing rights. Configuring a privilege or a permission on an outbound route will only allow extensions that have the same authority in terms of privilege to dial out using that outbound route. You are also able to manage your outbound call routes using outbound route per source caller ID. This means that this is where you allocate particular extensions only the right to dial out, and it will check the source caller ID first before allowing that call to go to exit the network. In the case that a user who's not allowed to dial outside of the company or to dial internationally tries to use that outbound route, it will play a prompt in the desk phone that says you do not have permission to use this route, and it will cut the call. So you can also set a call duration limit per outbound route, meaning that if you have an outbound route that you use for calling out, you can set a call duration limit on it, perhaps a soft cap such as 3 minutes or 4 minutes. What the Grandstream UCM will then do is, while a caller in your network is dialing out, when they approach time limit, it will let them know that you have 1 minute left in this call. And should the caller continue beyond that time limit, it will cut the call automatically. We have discussed pin group a little bit, but with pin group, what you can basically do is configure all your extensions into a pin group so that particular group of extensions dial out using a certain pin. This is useful for managing things such as multiple departments. If you would like your marketing department to have particular pins for dialing out, and perhaps your sales department to have different pins for dialing out, you will configure those using pin group. You can also set a blacklist to disallow any number of extensions to not be able to use the outbound route. You can also set DOD, and DOD simply is to dial with an outward destination. Please be careful with regards to the DOD feature, because what the DOD feature basically does is it allows your phone call to display a different number from the one that you are dialing from. In the case that most of the calls that come into your company or into your customer's company have to first start at reception, and the CEO themselves are trying to call a customer. If they dial a customer, the CEO's phone will display the number of the reception. so that when the customer calls back on that number directly, the call will not go directly to the CEO, but it will rather start off at reception. This is a feature you can set on your DoD, and the alternative for that is DID, which we will still discuss. But please do a little bit of research with regards to the area when it comes to this. We had an instance where customers of other networks would switch over to a Grandstream system and set their previous network's numbers from different providers as their DoD. As a result, when they are dialing out, it is displaying a number that is a non-IP number that belongs to a cell phone, and it is displayed. We've had an instance where one cell phone company sued an IP services provider for displaying their cell phone numbers without porting them. So in case that you'd like to use that feature, or that you'd like to recommend that feature to some of your customers, please do a little bit of check in terms of the legalities that surround those numbers that you are allowed to use or not. Then call routing for inbound routes is simply controlling how calls reach the internal network of your Grandstream phones. You also have a DID pattern. A DID pattern is basically to dial by using an inward destination, meaning that if you set on your incoming route that there should be a DID pattern, the call will only be sent into that incoming route when it is dialed in a particular manner that you have pre-configured. The reason why this is a necessity is because there are instances where companies run with more than one incoming call route, whereas many do that to segment the flow of their calls coming into the network. So you are allowed to do that with a DID pattern. The dial with inward destination pattern will determine where the call goes based on how the external party dials it. If you've configured it as 012, if they 2, it will then go to that particular inbound route. If you have more than one inbound route, you will just simply set a different DID. So that dial that DID and then sent into that inbound route and not into the regular pattern DID. The reason for this is because there's been a lot of sales companies and telemarketer companies that switch Grandstream series. And one of the things that they want to do is to separate their customer support from their sales division. So if somebody needs to send you to, they will then give you a DID that will throw you into the sales line. Whereas if you're looking for customer support, they will then give you a DID where that when you dial it, it takes you directly to the support line. But you also have actually, if you're using more than one you all direct calls to multiple destinations, such as should a call first go to an IVR, or should the call go to a different extension, should a call go to a ring group, should a call go to voicemail or to fax. Some of these features we are still going to discuss in our upcoming slides, but you can also schedule inbound routes. In the case of scheduling inbound routes, if you have more than one incoming call route for you, or your customer has more than one incoming call route, they can then set a time limit to these incoming call routes that during working hours from Monday to Friday between a certain time and a certain time, the call should be sent to a particular route. But in non-office hours from Saturday to Sunday, a certain time and a certain time, the call should then be either sent to a cell phone or it should be sent to an IVR. And the IVR will then tell the caller that we are currently not on business. If it is an urgent matter, please contact this number directly or return on Monday after 8 a.m. You can also set inbound route per caller ID. This is a very extensive practice, but it is possible. This is where you can determine, based on the person dialing you, where would you want that call to go. You are able to configure this by using the very detail of the number that will dial. And when that number comes in, it will use it to then send it to a particular inbound route. But you can also set a blacklist that will keep certain numbers from being able to dial you. You also have what we call multiple mode. Multiple mode is a very, very good feature for customers that have stations that are manned, in the sense that if there is a person dedicated to manning the calls of a company, multiple mode is going to be a very valuable feature for your customer, in the sense that with multiple mode, you can select more than one mode of handling a phone call. You can select the primary mode to be ring at receptionist extension. And because the receptionist is always receiving calls, that will work perfectly. But in addition to that, you can set an additional mode by using multiple mode. The additional mode will then allow your receptionist to engage a secondary mode when she has to stand up from her station and perform other tasks. This means that if your receptionist is used to manning calls and they now have to go over to the bathroom, they will simply engage the secondary mode by using multiple mode. And instead of the phone ringing at reception, it can then be sent to sales, or it can be sent to an external number, or it can be sent to a cell phone as pre-configured by the user.
Right, Hotso, sorry to
Yes, sorry.
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt this great presentation. Unfortunately, we are almost running out of time. We have 10 more minutes.
Okay.
I hope you will be able to wrap that up. Alternatively, what we can do is that we can schedule another session to finish, the other part of the presentation. Up to you. Please let us know how to proceed.
Alrighty, no problem. In that case, Terry, for me not to try and bombard you with too much information in the hope of finishing in time, can I please ask that we stop here for now? We have discussed quite a lot of call management. So in our next session, before we do the UCM, I will open with this session and we will wrap it up and then move over into our next session. So in that case, Terry, can I hand over to you for the question and answer session?
Great, fantastic. Thank you so much, Hotso. You are right in your element, right? Going, you're really going, and then I have to put the brakes on. So sorry about that. But to the rest of our participants, I hope that this session has been an insightful one. I can see we have a question here from Frederick. Does this call management features come at an extra cost?
Thank you for that question, Frederick. That is a very valuable question. What I would like you to know is that in the Grandstream suite of products, there is no feature at all that anybody has to charge you for. All of these features are built in two ways. They are supported by the Grandstream phones in case you want to use it with an already existing PBX. All of those phones support these features by default without any additional license, without any additional payment. The only trick I can give you to ensure that your features work correctly is please always update your Grandstream hardware to the latest firmware. But whether you're using a Grandstream UCM with a Grandstream phone or you are using Grandstream phones with your own PBXs, none of these features need an additional license. None of them need an additional payment.
Great, thank you. We also have another question from Wilson, two questions. Which modem supports GSM SIM cards? Is it embedded or slots? And another question is, which modem support ISDN E1 cards, embedded or slots?
I will have to respond to him a little bit later with regards to the first question. But with regards to the second question, we on the UCM models, the 6510 series, and it's actually the 6510 series. It supports integration of ISDN PRI using a primary rate interface if that is the same technology that we use in East Africa. You can integrate that into your UCM by using one of the provided T1 and E1 ports so that it can then bridge that into your PRI outbreak. And instead of breaking out of full IP, you will then have a full IP set up on the inside of your network. But then while you break out, the UCM will then send it to ISD and PRI line so that your breakout is then the primary rate interface.
Great. So he says 4 to 8 slots. Do you have GSM gateways 4 to 8 slots?
You are correct. We do have gateways. How our gateways work, although, is because I see that you want to use a GSM on the incoming and the outgoing. So what it will then do, it will be sort of like a conversion from IP into GSM. But for that breakout, you are going to need to have your own connection to the tower, but you can integrate that into a Grandstream UCM systems using one of our gateways. One of the biggest gateways we actually have currently, I believe, is a 16 port, but I can verify that information for you.
All right, thank you. I think at this point, I don't see any more questions. I just want to thank you all very much for taking your time to be with us. Frederick, Grace, Simon, Wilson, and Wilson, you have your colleague, isn't it, with you, George. Please, I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time to be with us this morning. Please follow us at our LinkedIn page, that's at Hudaco Kenya. And also you will receive a YouTube channel address where you will be able to have access to this particular presentation, as well as all the other presentations that we've done before. You also have the capability to be able to select per product. So that should make for, you know, a good Saturday afternoon session. Please also share this with your colleagues, your peers, your friends, and let's keep this going. As I mentioned to you all, we do have webinar sessions every Friday, and we urge you to please join us for these sessions. Look out for the mailers and information on our LinkedIn page as well. I just want to wish you all a great afternoon and morning into afternoon, and a great weekend ahead. Asanteni sana. Thank you, Hotso, for your time this morning. Yeah, we look forward to the next session. Goodbye, all.
All right. Thank you, Terry.
All right.